Very funny. Vic Henley.
Yes, hey. Ooh. What other clubs are in the region?
So we have
What would you consider the region?
We have Go Bananas in Cincinnati.
Okay, I like Go Bananas.
We have the Laugh Factory.
There's a Funny Bone right there.
There's a Funny Bone
in Liberty.
All right.
And then there's the new Caravan in Louisville.
Oh, that doesn't count.
It's funny how everyone says that. It's
Yeah.
that doesn't count.
It's true.
It's
true.
totally
you
true.
have to be, you can't say that you're a ambulatory human being when you're a quadriplegic.
Right.
Yes.
You're not allowed to say that.
Very valid point.
So,
We even having a lot of fun with Vic this weekend, and actually last night after the show, a bunch of us went out to Marika's, your neck of the woods, huh?
Yeah, I love that place.
And
they've changed it completely. It's totally different.
Yep.
I don't know how they made it taller.
they tore it down.
They tore down the entire building.
They built a whole new building in the
Right.
same spot.
Right.
Yes.
Because that's the only way that would work.
Yes.
It was baffling me last night. I was walking around like, how did they do this? I don't know how you add another story.
No, they
when
spent like $3-4 million. They tore it all
Yeah.
down, built a new restaurant and volleyball courts.
I was
It's
watching.
amazing.
I was sitting there watching people sweaty. I mean, getting into it.
Yeah.
Playing
Oh,
really
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
full-on league quality, but at midnight. It's
Right.
the weirdest thing.
Oh, I'm there about 2 times a week.
Yeah, you're actually on the team, right?
I'm in 2 leagues now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
See?
pretty competitive.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Isn't that
It
nuts?
is.
That's crazy. I can understand bowling at midnight. That's
Sure.
a more the rock and roll bowling thing with the lights and everything. I
Yeah.
can understand. I get that because that's not
that
strenuous.
place stays packed
They're-
until 2 a.m.
They're in there. I know, but I don't know anyone ever in my entire life that on Friday or Saturday night go, all right, no, we're not going out and partying and being single and chasing girls. We're going to go over here and just play some beach volleyball inside a building and strip mall in Lexington.
And you know what's
Right.
crazy is I actually play on Mondays and Tuesday
See?
nights, and it's till 2 a.m. It's packed.
And it's packed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they definitely made a good mood
They did.
of remodeling that thing.
It's hey,
I mean, the bar is like a mile long. That thing is ridiculous.
so well, somewhere Karch Karai has a boner. Somewhere Flo Hyman, Angel, is hovering above the arenas at night somewhere. I went deep. I didn't go with the typical. I could have gone with the 2 Olympians.
It's still good though. It's still good.
Yeah, it works.
Wonder if they come in town. They're like, hey, we're gonna go to Lexington to play volleyball. Well, what?
People travel to play softball in other cities and tournaments and stuff. You never know what might
That's actually true.
Yeah.
That's not as strange as like curling. I understand
I
that.
guess that goes on as well.
It
probably.
does. There's curling leagues everywhere, and I was
Sure.
like, no, there isn't yet.
Yeah.
There is. It's
Right, right.
crazy.
Do you want to know
Yeah.
something funny? Last summer I played in a kickball league, and there was a group of people trying to recruit people to play in a national kickball tournament in Florida. I'm kidding you
There was
not.
going to be one, and there
Yes.
were people there saying you guys ought to come play.
Well, they were
in there.
trying to recruit people.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Are you joking?" No, they're dead serious.
Sure. Well,
Kickball.
National
anything.
kickball tournament.
National kickball.
There's national frisbee golf.
Of
I
course.
guarantee
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Right. I knew a dude on Nantucket that a few years back that was his whole goal was to petition the city of Nantucket to give him the space to let him create a frisbee golf course on Nantucket.
On an island.
Yeah, wanted them to donate it. Like the people that live there would never think to play that ever. There's
Right.
only 10,000 people live there year round.
Yeah.
But he won. He got the whole thing. There's now a frisbee golf course on Nantucket.
I think Gallagher had a really good idea. Skeet golf.
Skeet golf.
Yeah, you hit the ball as hard as you can. If it goes anywhere you don't want, you just shoot it. That'd be a fun game, wouldn't it?
I think so. Full contact golf was always my favorite.
Full contact
Where
golf.
you can use the clubs. You can hit the other golfer. You can do anything.
There's like one guy lives at the
Yeah,
end.
that's right.
It's
You
like,
just
10
plow
men
through.
enter, 1 man leaves.
Yeah, you get a helmet. You get a helmet.
Get a helmet.
You get a helmet, and then that's it. All bets are off after that.
I am a professional full contact golf player. That'd be great.
I never played. I don't play that much golf.
No.
I had a friend when I was growing up. One summer, they built a par 3 course in our town, and so the little 9-hole par 3 courses.
Right.
So you only needed about 3 clubs to play it, and but because we worked the crew, we were all teenagers, and we laid the sod and cleared the ground and did all the bush hogging and made it. There was like 8 or 9 of us.
Right.
And so the dude that was the chief of Parks and Recreation Service in our town, he later became the mayor.
Oh.
And he told us because we built the course that we could play for free anytime we wanted.
Oh, okay.
And my one friend was the only person that really took advantage of this. All of us moved away. He's the one dude that stayed there.
Right.
And he was like 30, still going in there 14 years later. And there'd be some kid behind the counter, and he'd go over and start picking out his gloves and grab a couple balls and head. And like, hey, it's $9. He's, I built this course. some kid would have to get on the phone and call the current mayor. The other guy died.
Right. Well, let me look at the list. He pulls out a little drawer.
It was the craziest thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you went to Auburn.
Yes, I graduated from Auburn University.
And what was your major in?
Management finance. So
you
I was going to be a broker.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was going to do, but I didn't do it.
And were you like in front of a boardroom and trying to decide how the fiscal year was going to go, and you were making everybody laugh, and they were like, you know what, you should be a comic.
No, I interviewed with Dean Whitter, and they hired me, and I moved across country. I graduated in December, and so I moved across country in January thinking I'm going to start the job in the training program, and it's a 6-month program to take the Series 7 test. I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
And so I get there, and there's just 4 cell phones and everything, and they're like, "Hey, we get 2 spots in January and 2 spots in June. This January we're only getting 1. We just found that out, and like the boss's brother's cousin or somebody, some kind of nepotism thing. So you can still work here, but you'll just be office flunky boy intern, we'll pay you." But you got to wait 6 months till June before you start the real part of what we hired you for. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. I just moved across country for you. I ain't doing this. I'm going to be a comedian. I'm going to be a comedian. So I'd always wanted to do stand up anyway, and I'd gone to a couple of open mics and thought I was going to go up, and I'd chicken out and not go up.
Yeah.
And then then that just sort of pushed me into going up. So I had a roommate that was always telling me I should do it, and he had told friends because he was living in Phoenix already. And when I got to Arizona, I'm meeting his friends, and they're going, "You're the comedian." I've never been on stage one time ever. He's just told everybody
that you're a comedian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that I came there to do stand up, and then we were just going to start there. And then he and I were both going to Hollywood. He wanted to be an actor, and I was going to be a comic, and we were going to dominate.
Right.
That was his whole thing.
That's the plan.
Well, yeah, he later died as a crackhead.
Oh, jeez.
I swear I was about to ask, is he successful? Never mind.
All my stories are he later died as a crackhead.
Oh, okay.
Usually at the end.
It's a canned response for your friends. So you were in Arizona. How'd you end up in New York?
The first comic I worked with was a New York comic named Rob Bartlett. And he worked with Imus for 40 years. He just retired from the Imus show, doing all kinds of characters and voices and weird things. And he was always a comedian. He did shows on Broadway. I've seen him in straight acting roles in Law and Order and things like that. He's just a pro forever. And he was the first comic I worked with. And he said, "Where are you?" And I told him Arizona. He goes, "You could have stayed in Alabama and done the same thing. You got to go to New York or L.A.
Right.
I've got an agent that has tons of work. If you want to go acting and writing, you ought to go to L.A. If you want to do more, just be a comic and get on stage, then you should go to New York. And my agent will help you but you got a place to stay. It costs you a fortune to live there. I don't know."
Yeah.
And a girl I went to high school with was friends of mine. I ran into her. And she had just graduated from stewardess school.
Oh, wow.
And was going to move to New York to be a flight attendant. And I go, "I'm sleeping on your couch." And I just forced my way into her world. And I called Rob Bartlett, and I go, "I'm here." And he called Gary Grant, his agent, who still is his agent. And they sent me on every horrible one-nighter, and I started working. And that was it.
That's awesome.
For about 2 or 3 years before I got into the city clubs. I had to go. You had to do every night's a bar show somewhere horrible.
Right.
But 7 days a week there was comedy.
That's what you need.
Paid comedy.
Oh, hell.
Oh, yeah. I was making $900 a week sometimes because it'd be $75 a show, $100 a show. And then there were a lot of weekend rooms that did 2 shows on Friday and 2 shows on Saturday. So if you worked all 7 days, you could make $800-900.
That's actually really good.
Oh, I know. And I would take that money, and then I started getting into the road gigs like improvs and funny bones and things like that. But I was an MC.
Oh, okay.
And so, but everybody was like, "He's the only MC that flies. He flies himself in." I'm spending $350 to make $250.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
They couldn't figure out how I was doing that because I had the money from New York, so
right.
I could blend because you get really tired of the bad shows after a while. It's a bar.
Right.
It's having comedy night. Turn the game off. It's above my head.
Right.
Turn the game off.
That's the shows we do. So we
so
understand.
I did them forever. I'll still do one every now and then. If the money's there, I'll still do one every now and then.
Sure.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I blended that so you could get a better perspective of the difference between 200 or 300 people walking in the club, sitting down, focused and ready to see comedy, rather than the 1986 Mets Astros playoff game that's 19 innings and it's going on above my head.
And everyone's yelling, "Get off stage."
Yes, you have to go turn the little light on yourself. You ever done one?
Yeah,
It's one of those, just some of those like things you get at Home Depot, the silver cone
Right.
with the light, and they're like, "Start the show," and the owner just points out, "Start the show," and you have to go. There is a microphone. I will give you that. There's a mic and a stand, and you have to go over and get on a chair and it click and turn the sad little glowing light of how awful this is. You just stand there.
We have a show just like that.
They're everywhere. They still
They are.
exist. They still
Yes,
exist everywhere. I'm
absolutely.
But I
sure.
think in every comic's life, that's something you have to do.
You gotta
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
It's
absolutely.
just kind of
You
doing your
you
chops.
will never appreciate the actual stage unless you do that stuff. I mean, you just having like the other comics and their girlfriends watching you versus
Ooh, I'm glad I didn't have to do that. I actually had
Oh.
people. And now, if you do those, it's bringer shows and all the people, the audiences can be. When I don't do those in New York a lot because they don't laugh.
Right.
I can't figure out if the jokes are working or not.
Right.
You know, and if there's 20 people sitting there and there are 19 comics or open micers, they don't laugh at anything.
Right.
And I know some of this shit's funny. You got to laugh. You got to at least be an audience for a minute.
Right.
But all just sitting there taking their own notes, worrying about what they're going to do 8 or 9 minutes later. So I don't do too many. I'll do a weird one where you don't do your act, where they give you some weird topic or tell you to do something offbeat.
Right.
Every now and then I'll say yes to that just to try to think of something strange
Yeah.
to do. And so,
That'd be kind of fun. I think we had a couple shows like that around here where it was
Well, we did want a soundbar like that.
yeah, it was called the Word Up Show.
Word Up,
Like
yeah.
a word would appear to the screen and you'd have to you'd be doing your set and a word would come up and you'd have to work that into your
sure.
set.
They have a very the Comedy Store in London. They have a show like that on every Tuesday. It's been going on for over 20-something years.
Oh, wow.
And it's a real popular show, and it sells out. And they let the comics divide the money.
Oh,
So you
nice.
make money and have a fun time, and the audience sees a cool, innovative thing, and it's rooted around that.
Oh, that's kinda
You know,
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you end up on VH1? How did that happen?
Oh God, I was Rosie O'Donnell, who I did not know that well, but I knew her a little bit.
Right.
And I think maybe just because when I was still living in Phoenix, it took me. I was in Phoenix for about a year, and then I was I started going to New York in the fall of '85, and then I moved there by January. So I still was in Phoenix all of '80 for the whole year.
Gotcha.
And so I think and there was 3 clubs there, and they didn't care if. You could work them all. They'd let all the comics work them all. So you could actually get on stage. They didn't care at all.
Nice.
They knew the headliners who the people were coming to see. So they didn't care if they saw me MC.
Right.
And then a week later went to another club and saw me over there. They didn't care.
Right.
So that was cool, and it let us all work like that. And so as that person, having a car and living there, you would always ask the headliners, that are stuck in some condo or a hotel, I got a car, I can take you to the movies. I don't do anything during the day either.
Right.
We're doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
I can find you weed. What do you want to do? You want to go to the track? You want to go to the movies?
Right.
It's just a courtesy thing. As much, and not really sucking up. You want to hang out with the pros. You're the new guy. You want to learn.
Sure.
And hang out with headliners. And so she came to town, and she had won or done really well on Star Search or something. And
Right.
was doing well, and I did that for her and took her around. And so whenever I would see her down through there, still to this day, she talks to me like it was that day.
Oh, nice.
Said, hey Vic, how you doing? She's got a great memory.
Yeah.
She has an amazing memory. And I was hanging out at one of the clubs in New York called Catch a Rising Star, and I hadn't seen her in a while. And she comes walking up to me, and she was on VH1 at the time. She
Right.
was very popular. And she goes, hey, I just recommended you for something, and I was going to call you, but you should. There's an opening at VH1, and it's only for a year because at the end of next year they're going to cut all VJs off, and they're just going to have computer graphics and voiceovers. And they knew that like 13 months in advance. They knew they were going to do that.
Oh, wow.
And one guy didn't like it and quit.
Oh.
So the other 4 or 5 were happy with just riding it on out
Sure.
and doing nothing. It's real easy. The money was great.
Yeah.
And you could record a week's worth of work in like 2 days, 2.5 hours,
Right.
4 hours total, or 5, something like that. So it was really easy. And sure enough, she goes, and then she gave me all the information and said, they're going to call you. I already told them about you. I told them how to find you. But if you don't hear from them by like lunch tomorrow, call this lady, and here's her name, and she knows who you are. Blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter. They called me the first thing the next morning, just like she said.
Nice.
I went down there and auditioned, me and like 2 other people. And at the end of the day, the guy called me and said, can you do this? And I'm like, sure. So it was that easy, literally just standing there.
That's like that's amazing.
I wasn't doing anything. She knew I'm a crazy music fiend.
Oh, really?
And she knew that, yeah. Somehow or another. A lot of my friends know that.
Yeah.
They know I like crazy. I like college football, and I like music.
Okay, all right. So your top 5 bands are
Oh God, that's too complicated.
Too complicated.
Yeah, that's too complicated. Mojo Nixon, who's a friend of mine, is a crazy rockabilly musician, insane American psychopath. That's,
Did he die a crackhead?
No, he's alive and well. He's on Outlaw Country on Sirius Satellite Radio.
Okay.
He's completely fine. He had a song. He had a hit in like '84 called "Elvis Is Everywhere." It was actually on MTV. And it was great. It's a great song.
Right.
And you can find Elvis Is Everywhere, and he had Debbie Gibson is Pregnant with My Two-Headed Love Child. And then he had the Drunk Divorce Floozy, otherwise known as The Ballad of Princess Diana.
Fantastic.
Don Henley Must Die. And then the classic rant against the federal monetary system, I Hate Banks.
I hate banks.
I
Yeah.
hate banks. But he's a crazy guy, and I forgot now why you so what was that? This way, that way.
Favorite music.
There you go. He sent me a text the other day. Thank you. He sent me a text the other day, just dicking around, and he said, best debut album, and I'm going to forget one of these, but he goes, best debut album, and he must have meant solo artist because it was Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix, John Prine from Kentucky, I believe, and Carole King, Tapestry, and another one, and I can't think of what the other one was. But I answered Hendrix to that question because I was feeling guitar-y that day.
Guitar-y. Yeah, I appreciate a guy that spent some time in the military and then said, you know what, fuck this shit, I don't like it, and just started strumming on a guitar. And I mean, what, it took him 3 years to be like one of the best guitarists ever?
I told people forever there's a double live recording it's called Live at Winterland. It's a ballroom out in San Francisco, and I've told people for 30 years that there is no problem, however severe is going on, whatever bad, horrible thing could be happening to you, go somewhere, play that as loud as you can stand it. Don't take it, hide the phone, sit in a chair, play that, and that will literally just beat the problem out of you. It's so powerful a piece of work. By the time it's over, you feel cleansed. It'll literally just beat the shittiness of whatever's happening to you. I believe that.
Nice. You get into the Grateful Dead at all, or?
A little bit. The thing I liked about the Grateful Dead is not anything they did, but the Lyle Lovett produced dedicated CD, which is a cover. Everybody does a Dead song.
Yeah.
And there's a million great songs on that.
Absolutely.
Friend of the Devil, Lyle's good on it. Dwight Yoakam does Truckin' and fucking blisters it.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. But I like the Dedicated more than I like the Dead.
The Dead, yeah. It is what it is. So that's pretty badass, man. Do you play any?
No, I
instruments, or
can't play anything.
Nothing?
Can't sing, can't do anything.
Okay.
But I just like it. It's good for you.
He says good for you. I
It is
agree.
good
No,
for you.
I agree with you.
If I don't see it, I'll go to shows. Every time I wait too long before I go see another show, every time I'm at the show, I'm like, why did I wait so long to do this again? It's one of my favorite things. And as I get older, I get lazy and don't go as much. It's just because I'm shitty.
Well, a lot in your show, you talk about a guy you grew up with, and you always, especially when you start talking about your racist granddad, and the story is fantastic. You don't necessarily tell that story, but I'd love for you to tell more stories about you and his hijinks. The things that what was his name? Scoop
Jackson?
Scoop.
Died as a crackhead.
Is there a reason why you looked right at me when you said that?
He's expecting that out of you.
Okay.
I was hoping you'd be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know.
He's mesmerized by the stories. You stunned him.
I was ready to hear a story.
I think he I don't know if a drug dealer took his car because he owed him some money, and he went to the drug dealer's house down in the hood to confront him and get his car back. And the guy shot him, killed him.
Things like that never end well. Yeah,
it was a cool car too. I know exactly what the car is. He worked despite having problems with drugs, that was his pride and joy. He would never go so far as to have to get rid of the car or sell the car or do whatever.
Right.
That was the tipping point.
What's some of your favorite stories to tell about him?
Oh God, there's more Norton stories. Norton is also. I tell the story about the four of us going to see Kiss and ended up seeing the Ku Klux Klan, and
That's right.
we pulled off to get some gas somewhere, and there was four dudes standing there trying to, have a say about something that nobody gave a damn about
It's
at
a
all.
great story.
We just thought it was weird that it was like 1980.
Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit, man. We thought what the fuck?
Still
The
going
Blues
on.
Brothers weren't kidding. They are still around.
Yeah, and Scoop, it was three of us and Scoop, the one black guy in the car with us when we see him, and we ended up snatching one of the Klan hoods off their heads because Scoop wanted a souvenir, and but riding up front in the front of the car was my friend Norton. Now, Norton's alive.
Okay.
And he's a 50-year friend of mine. I've known him since we were 5 years old.
Wow.
Longer than anybody outside my family. We're 50-year friends. And there are more stories about him than all my friends think there should be an animated Norton series. Because he's completely unhinged. He's just out of his mind.
Well, by all means, tell the Norton story.
Where would you start? There are too many. One time we were camping in high school, and we would camp around spring break, and it was a little too chilly still in North Alabama, and so you'd have the campground to yourself. And we'd get 8 or 9 of us and have 3 or 4 spots and tents, and we'd blaring music and just having a great time. Well, this one particular year, we were sitting there, and we're all rocking and rolling. We've all set up. It's about 5 o'clock. We're getting ready to grill some steaks, and here comes like 25 military guys, and they're all in the camo and everything. And it turns out they're ROTC from Auburn University, and they've brought them because the highest point in the state is the mountain that we're on. It's just only about 3, but Cheehaw Mountain's right in my backyard practically. And so they're taking a wilderness skills class at Auburn.
Of course.
And so they're going to throw them out there and make them catch chickens and eat them alive. And you've got to give them compasses and maps and take them places and try to get them lost. And they got to work their way back to camp and all this stuff. So it's like 5 adult, like military guys in charge of these 20 college kids.
Right.
And so the first night it's like 9 o'clock, and we've got speakers that we have stolen from somewhere that are those big PA speakers that are like attached to outside of a high school.
Right.
So we've got like 2 or 3 of those, and we've wired them up, and we've got them up in the trees.
Awesome.
And we've got them hooked up to a spare car battery over here, and we got all hot wired, and we are just blaring fucking music as loud as it'll go. It's Van Halen 1.
Okay.
It's just running with the devil. That horn at the beginning, and we're standing on picnic tables, and we're drunk and smoking weed, and so here comes these dudes, and we're kids, we're only 17 or whatever,
right?
And here comes the couple of these are the guys, the bosses, the military sergeants are like, hey, you gotta cut the shit, they got to get up at 4 in the morning, and we're gonna have them, hiking and doing it, and Norton goes, "Fuck you, G.I. Joe! I ain't got to do a goddamn thing. Who the fuck are you?
Right?
This is my mountain. I live 15 minutes from here. We're in a campground. It's a national park. Hey, okay, you can't talk to me. I'll talk to you any goddamn way I want, G.I. Joe. I'll stomp your fucking ass." He's a little guy, but he's real strong. He won the state championship in wrestling at 98 pounds.
Damn.
Wow.
But when he weighed 98 pounds, he could bench press 325 pounns.
Holy crap.
3 times his body weight.
crazy.
Yeah, he later got into powerlifting and everything. And so he's always a really, and okay, this one Norton story always doubles back to another one.
That's fine.
He believes he has always been possessed with this super strength.
Sounds like
He
it.
seriously believes it, and he will tell everybody that he's the firstborn of his parents. He's got others, but he's the oldest. And his mother had 5 miscarriages before she had him. And each time she'd have a miscarriage, to keep it from happening again, they started giving her steroids. They were juicing her.
Sure.
And it didn't work
Right.
4 more times. So they keep increasing the dosage. So he believes, I've been juicing since I was in the womb. It's what he'll tell everybody to this day. Because still, if you touch him anywhere on his body to this day, there's no give anywhere. He's he's as hard as a rock.
Wow.
And he's still, so anyway, so back to the mountain. So
Okay.
we're up there, and Norton's like, "Fuck you, G.I. Joe," and all this stuff. And they're, so they're just yelling, nothing can happen. He's like, "Go find a ranger."
Yeah.
He goes to the ranger station. He tells him where it is to go find him. And then if they come down here and tell us to stop, then we'll turn it down.
Right.
Because he knows that chore right there is going to take at least an hour.
Sure.
If not an hour and a half. And the ranger probably ain't there.
Right.
We knew everything about this place, and we knew when the ranger was there and when they weren't there and all this stuff. So he sends him off on this journey. Because otherwise, he turns it straight back up.
He gave him a quest.
So the guy leaves, comes back later, defeated. Comes back over and says, well, da da da, and we're like, yeah, whatever, you're a dumbass. We sent you on a snipe hunt, you idiot. And they argue more, and he goes, look, we're not doing, and finally they're like, well, then we're just going to sit here and yell at you all night long. You can't have fun. You're going to sit here, no, like, all right. So we started turning it down and acquiesce a little bit, and then. So it's well after midnight by then, and they're going to get up at 4:30. He's already told us what their plan is.
Right.
So we set an alarm for like 4:15, for like 15 minutes earlier, and we sneak. All Norton's idea. He goes, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set the alarm 15 minutes earlier." He said 4:30. Well, 4:15, and at 4:15, we're going to grab every fucking thing that we can bang together and make a noise, and we're going to go down there and just like garbage cans, just banging on lids, pots and pans. And we're just going to run through their whole campground and scream and turn the music up really loud, and then run back in here and zip the fucking tents and just stay quiet. And so you can hear them running around and making all. And then we run back and we get in the tent, and you can hear comes the. They're like, "We know you're in there. We know you're awake. Don't even try to act like that wasn't you." And Nora's like, "Fuck you, G.I. Joe. I'm not coming out. You might as well. I'd go back to Auburn if I was y'all, because this is going to go on all weekend. We're not. It's our place. You just get out of here."
Right.
And after a couple hours later, they packed up all this shit and left. And so Norton barked them off the mountain out of their wilderness skills class. They had to have it at another location.
That's awesome.
Right. So there's always he's crazy. He's completely insane.
He's lifting 3 times his weight at 98 pounds. Yeah, he's like a mighty mouse. That's crazy.
He was a bad dude, man. We had another friend that was always. Unfortunately, they would try to wrestle for the same spot, and Norton would beat him every time.
Yeah.
And Norton was a state champion. And then so one year when we're going to turn 16, the guy says, "My dad said that if I win this time, he'll get me a brand new car." And Norton goes, "I'll throw the match because we will all ride around in the car,
right?
If this works." And so Norton throws the match and lets the guy win. And his dad Welsh on the bed and says, doesn't even get him a shitty car. It gets him nothing, no car at all. And then Norton goes, "Well, I'm going to have to fucking whip your ass and take my spot back." I was on board when there was a car,
but now,
sorry, I can't do it. And it's just he knew the other guy just knew that he goes, "Well, we'll see. Maybe I'll win again." Because I threw the match last time. I was going to get a car, sort of, out of it. So. Yeah, he's crazy. He's absolutely insane.
And he's probably too strong to die as a crackhead, so that's probably why he's still alive.
He fiddled with it. I mean,
did he?
Oh God, yeah. They would all, they all got involved with it, and then some of them got off it and stayed straight, and then some of them didn't and died. And, but one of his low points, he'll tell her he was down in the hood, and they have no money, and they've gone fishing. Him and the owner of the Trans Am from the Clinton story, and who died of crackhead. Yeah, so they've gone fishing, and they've caught a bunch of catfish, and they've got some big, like compound buckets like you get, and so they're literally walking around the hood, knocking on doors of where they knew they could get crack, wanting to trade buckets of catfish for some crack, live catfish, not even cleaned or filleted, just knocking on doors. "Can we get some crack for these fish?" and all those like, "Get out of here! You're crazy!" And he was somewhere in that day. He decided that's it.
That's it.
That's a low point.
That is a low point.
I gotta get off the crack.
When you turn into a fishmonger to get crack,
it's completely. He has no problem telling anyone that story. He does it all the time. He's crazy.
That's fucking hilarious. What does he do for a living?
He's a marketer. He sells product placement, promotion kind of stuff. Like keychains with your company's name on it.
Gotcha.
Any kind of thing you would put your company's name on. Pens, glasses.
Tchotchkes.
Anything. Yeah. He goes to China and buys 1 million of them for 0.01 cent each.
Yeah.
And then comes back over here.
0.01 cent.
Really. And then sells it over here. And he works a lot with the trucking industry.
Oh, okay. So, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
How'd you end up in London? You spent a lot of time over there.
The first time I went, a guy was in New York. Somebody in New York saw me from there and asked me to go, and so I got to go a couple of times. And then a few years went by, and another guy saw me, and he had 3 of the top 10 shows on the BBC at the time, and so he wanted me to be on one of them. So he asked me. I said, "Only if you let me. I'm a comic." These are panel shows. So you sit around and there's a topic, and there are a million of them, and they would be specifically about something. There was one called Never Mind the Buzzcocks, and it's about music. It was a punk band.
Okay.
Very famous punk band. And so it's called Never Mind the Buzzcocks, and then there was one about sports called They Think It's All Over, and there was another one about it's only TV, but I like it. It was about whatever was on television and movies, and there was a political one, and then they would show clips or tell stories, and then the panel would talk about, try to make jokes about whatever it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so he wanted me to be on the sports one as a bet, because the co-executive producer told him that comedians were great on all these shows, but he didn't think an American comedian could go do good on that show because they would know nothing about English sports. And Harry Thompson, my friend, who was the co-executive producer, his whole angle was, you ain't got to know anything about, if you're a comic, we're going to show you the topics and give you stuff. Good comics will write jokes about this. It's got nothing to do with knowing sports or not. And so he asked me and David Tell to come over there. He was in New York, and he saw us at the Comedy Cellar, and he asked us to go over there and do it. And Tell didn't want to do it, and I did.
That's cool.
But I told him, I'll only come do it if you get me a weekend at the Comedy Store where I can do stand-up, because that's what I do. So I don't want to just come do this if I can't work. And all my friends, a lot of guys I liked and respected, had worked over at the Comedy Store, and I heard about it. And that was the best thing about it. And then once I got in there, then everybody sees you over there, and then you'll just get asked to do more stuff.
Which is awesome.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
But after a while, you can do everything, though. So that's why I don't hardly go anymore, because after a while, it's small, and you can play everywhere and do everything, and that's about it. And then Harry Thompson died, but not of a crack.
Not of a crack.
He died of heroin.
He just died of heroin. Yeah.
Lung cancer and didn't smoke.
Oh wow.
Yeah, some sort of weird. Yeah.
Secondhand
bad luck.
Secondhand crap. So who's the favorite sports team? Is it Auburn?
Auburn Tigers, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But football mainly. But I'll always watch them. I'll watch the girls softball team.
Yeah, I hear you.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, pros. I like the story of what's ever going on in year. Like I loved it. Forever I had wanted. I didn't know. I'd realized I had annoyed people with this so much, but. 2 years ago, when the Super Bowl, when Brady and them came back on the Falcons, I'd always said I wanted an overtime because there'd never been one.
Right.
So every year they're like, every year lead for 100 years, people are like, who you like? And I'm like, I just want overtime because there's never been overtime.
Right.
And so when that happened, my phone, like 50 people go, I guess you're happy today. And I'm like, God almighty, I must have been bothering people with this for years if this many people remembered this about me and called me. But so there's interesting stories every year. So Philly was a great story last year.
Sure.
That's a great story, and those people are insane.
I was just going to ask you what you thought about that. So angry.
They are, woo! There's comedy there, and I've done it. There's a good club there called Helium right now.
Yeah.
And they're rough, man. They're
angry.
crazy.
It's like you won. What are you angry about?
It's so just absolutely bizarre, the whole thing.
Go Eagles! Burn that library down.
Well, the Jesus factor I didn't enjoy because Wentz is super Jesus,
right?
And I didn't know Nick Foles was, and then one of his things that he'd said when he contemplated quitting was he was going to join the seminary,
right?
And I'm like, I don't like my Jesus and my football mixed together.
No,
basically,
it's a bad cocktail.
It's not a good one.
No.
Speaking of Jesus, all right, I thought of this earlier. Tomorrow is Easter.
Segue.
Tomorrow is Easter.
True.
And it's also April 1st.
Right.
Yes.
So is it the ultimate irony that Easter is on April Fool's Day?
Only a comedian.
That's too good.
It
writes itself.
It
writes itself. I can't believe someone hasn't said that sooner.
Well, I intend to hide Easter eggs for my nieces and nephews, but I'm not going to put anything in them.
Okay.
Because, you're a fool to keep doing this.
Sure. Well,
it's kind of a jackass thing to do.
Right. I'm the uncle. That's what I do.
Well, you got to crush hopes and dreams
That's right.
early as possible.
That's
as
right.
early as possible. Don't let them get filled with hope and excitement. My friend's son was he was playing Pee Wee football, and he picked him up from practice, and he's the last one to know that Santa Claus is not real.
Oh, really?
And he's bummed about it. And he's giving my friend, his dad, a hard time. He's like, look, you could have told me. You made me look like a jackass out here. I'm the only one. You could have told me.
Right.
It was more of that was his angle. And he goes, he just immediately takes it to, so I guess all the other stuff, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny. And my friend's like, yep, nothing. And he goes, so these are all just jokes on kids? These are all just mean pranks on kids? And my friend goes, well, you look at it that that way, but I guess so. And then he goes, "How about Jesus?" And my friend goes, "That's a mean prank on adults."
Oh my goodness! So at Marika's last night, we found out you're not very good at darts.
I was hammered.
You were.
I'm okay if I'm not hammered, and it's like pool. There's a certain level of drunkenness that it makes it better.
I was
And then
enjoying.
you go past that line, I'm just hitting the wall. I'm not close to anything.
I was enjoying every shot. I was like, no, the one on the right, the one on the right, hit the one on the right.
I didn't hit the board. I shouldn't have been playing.
It was great.
I was forced into playing.
You should have played volleyball instead.
Oh God!
God, you imagine that?
That was the point.
I never played volleyball. The one of the dead crackheads. He was a great volleyball player.
Really?
Yeah, before the crack.
Now
He was amazing.
you ran around with a lot of the I would say very famous Southern comics, like you
Foxworthy.
had some
Foxworthy.
time with Foxworthy.
Wilson.
Yep.
Billy.
You ran with Tim Wilson?
Sure. Well, my first 3 weeks of comedy were first 3 paid weeks ever were Birmingham, Alabama, and then Greenville, South Carolina, and then Columbia, South Carolina. There were punchlines in all those cities, and so I meet Wilson. I'm the MC. He's the feature. Pat Paulson from Laugh-In.
Wow.
One of those. He was one of the first guys to run for president.
Right.
The comedian to run for, and he did this in 68.
Right.
Or something like this. And so he was still milking that in 86.
Let's say, how old is this guy?
And so he looked exactly the same, but people would go just for the novelty of going to see him go.
Sure.
But me and Wilson are burying him. He's got no jokes. You just going to go, oh, remember this? And then he talked about that, and then he's got another 40 minutes of nothing.
Yeah.
And we're in Birmingham, Alabama. At least me and Wilson sound right.
Right.
So somewhere throughout the week, Wilson he goes, well, where are you next week? And I said, I'm in Greenville. And he goes, oh, hell, I am too. You can just ride with me. You no need to take the bike. I go, I'm in Columbia after that. He goes, me too. And he goes, just ride with me the whole time.
Shit, okay.
And he goes, no, you'll end up in Columbia. I don't know how you'll get back, but I can get you from here to here to here. And I'm like, well, I'll just fly into Birmingham and then fly back out of Columbia. You know?
Yeah.
And so I rode around in the car with him, and we had fun, hung out, did different things. He's
I loved
fun.
him.
Oh my God,
Loved him.
Greg Warren, you know Greg.
Yep, we had him on the show.
We were on Nantucket a couple of years, 3 or 4 years ago. Wilson had already died, so not that far back, but he passed away, and we're at a fancy Nantucket cocktail party where it's just you can just see the money. You know,
Right.
it's like the Kentucky Derby times 50. Makes the
Right.
Derby look like a trash festival.
Nantucket's got some old
Yeah,
money.
yeah, it's really.
Yeah.
Everybody you meet is the person from how you doing? I'm Johnny Reynolds as Reynolds Rap.
Yes.
You know, just, hi, I'm Bob Campbell from Campbell's Soup.
Right.
Hey, everybody you meet, I'm the CEO of General Electric. Everybody you meet is somebody. Jack. Oh, okay, Jack. Nice to meet you. And so we're at this party, and we're the comics are always welcome because the rich people think we're like circus animals.
Of course.
They just want to watch us. It's cool to have us running around their fancy thing to add some something to it, because otherwise it would be too dull. And so Warren and I are talking about Wilson passing away and how that sucked, and we're doing his act, and we're standing over kind of in the corner, and there's one of his jokes. So he's judge ye. The Bible says. Judge not, yes, lest ye be judged, but fuck those faggots.
You're right.
For something, I'm ruining it because I'm not Wilson, but that's basically. But me and Greg Warren are just hugging ourselves, and we're getting a little tipsy, and we're just screaming it louder and louder and louder. So these people over here, all they know is 2 weird ass comedians are standing in the corner of this party, mumbling something, and then going, "Fuck those faggots!" screaming. And they can't decide if they should come over and tell us to stop. What's going on?
That's
and then finally,
awesome.
me and Warren, we look around, we're like, "Holy God! Oh, we forgot everybody else was here. Sorry." There's like 60 people standing there going, "Okay, guys, maybe just tone it down a little bit." Okay, you know. So, and we have Wilson. God Almighty, so funny, so funny.
He was amazing. I saw him perform 3 times here. Probably own everything he ever put out, and always listen to him on Bob and Tom show anytime he was on there. He's got some of the most classic stuff.
Ron White fell in love with the song. It's only about a minute and 45 seconds. It's he was paddling to San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know this? I'm gonna ruin it. It was like he was paddling to San Diego when a wave cast him out to sea, and he wound up on the shores of Waikiki. He's the only legal Mexican in Honolulu. He's the only illegal Mexican in Honolulu. And things are working out. He found him a roofing job to do or something like that. They didn't know if they were going to run him off or if they're going to let him stay. Turns out they are, because now he's Don Jose. Don Jose.
Great.
It's like, Don Jose.
That sounds like a Ron White song.
Ron had never heard this, and so somebody played it for him, and just for a month solid, if he was just sitting alone checking his phone or doing it, he'd just be singing it to himself the whole time. Yeah, Wilson's a legend, man.
Yeah.
Good God.
I love this song, "I'll Kill You." When he's talking about if you try and save this marriage again, I'll kill you.
The George song.
Yeah.
He had a song. It's about
George. Yeah.
He thought it was so stupid. He didn't really like it.
Right.
But it was hilarious. So we were somewhere. Ron White did a salute to the troops on CMT, Country Music Television, and Lewis Black was on it. Mm-hmm. And Wilson was on it, and I was on it, and Kathleen Madigan, I think, but Lou had never met Wilson. Lou's a New Yorker, and so he'd never met Tim, and so God, we were going to do a cruise the following fall, where Lou just gets like 8 or 9 of his buddies, and like a certain amount of people buy this package, and they get to come see us do comedy every night. The other people on the cruise ship can't do this. It's just like the 700 or 800 of them that have bought the Lou's Cruise package. The
Lou's Cruise.
And it's like 8 headliners. Everybody, Dom Herrera one night, the next night's Lou, the next night's Kathleen Madigan. So Lou sees Wilson at the taping of the special, and he's like, "Do you know him?" I'm like, "Oh, fine. I've known him since week 1 practically." You know? He goes, "Get him to do the cruise. Get him to do it." I'm afraid to ask him.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, he's nice.
He's the nicest guy.
He goes, "Well, I don't know him." I'm like, "He knows you. I guarantee you. Everybody knows you.
Right.
Just go ask him. You don't need me to ask him for you." And he goes,
Right.
"I thought there's some kind of hillbilly shit you can fucking do for me."
There's a code, a hillbilly code.
Okay, Lou. Yeah, I got it.
Hillbilly code.
And so he was reluctant. Wilson was kind of reluctant. I don't know. I think he didn't see it. He saw it more as doing a cruise ship, and those suck.
Right.
And they'll censor you, and the cruise director gets on you, and it's not fun. The passengers get to evaluate you, and it's like it's like having a job or something weird like that, And so, anyways, but he did. He ended up doing it, and he brought his wife, and we had a blast. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody, not that many people had heard of him. The people that bought the package were all from everywhere else, and so he got introduced to a whole new audience, and they loved
That's
him.
awesome.
Yeah.
Tim was great, man.
Really fun.
He really was. Fun guy.
When did he pass away?
2014, I want to say.
Yeah, it wasn't that long
2014.
ago.
It was March of 2014, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah. I remember exactly where I was, too, because I was listening to the local radio station here, Dead Air Dennis's show on Double Q.
Oh, wow.
And he announced it, and it was like, wow.
Ron called me.
Yeah.
Somebody, Ron's publicist found out, and so she called Ron, and then Ron called me. And told me. I'm like, man, good God.
No doubt.
Terrible.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of stuff with Ron White.
I'm on tour with him right now. I'm meeting him next Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Wabash, Indiana, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Wausau, Wisconsin.
Fantastic.
Next weekend. So.
And you had a funny story about Tater Tot, right?
Oh, God, I was telling you. Ron's son, Marshall.
Tater Tot.
Tater Tot is what he always called him, because he's tater salad, so he's Tater Tot. And Marshall's 25 now, maybe something like that.
Right.
And but when he was 18, he was with Ron, and they were at a fancy ass. Somebody got married down in Mexico and paid for everybody to go, and killer resort and the whole thing. Everything comp free. And so Marshall's there with Ron. And they're hanging out, and Ron sees him, and Ron told him, "You can drink at 18 in Mexico. So if you want to drink, I'm not going to stop you, but just watch it. Just,
Right. Be smart about it.
And he sees him just going too hard, too fast. Ron, out of the corner of his eye, every time he sees him throwing back a shot or something. He's mixing things. He's got a wine in his hand. Then later he's got a beer in the pool. He's drinking a frozen drink 30 minutes later. More shots. And so
Jesus.
Ron goes over to him and says, hey, look, far be it from me to tell anyone what to do with the liquor. But, everything you're doing here, you're going to get sick. You need to slow down a little bit or you're going to get really, really sick.
Right.
You don't want to, he goes, and Marshall looks at him and goes, or I could just learn my lesson the hard way. And Ron goes, that sounds like something my son would say. Have at it. Sure enough, like 2 hours later, he's vomiting through his nose. He's getting sick. He's wallowing around on a raft in the pool. People think he's going to drown. They got to fish him out, throwing up in a taxi back to wherever the hell they were going. But yeah,
That's great.
I could learn the hard way.
Poor Tater Tot.
And he doesn't even it must have taught him. He doesn't even party that much anymore. He's like a regular. I don't think I've seen him drunk once.
He got it out of his system.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Did it the hard way. So aside from what you got going on, anything else coming up for you?
There's Kathleen Madigan dates with her. I've got. I'm on the road with him the first weekend of May. I'm on the road with her down in Texas the first
Awesome.
weekend of May. Ron's next week, April, and then she's the first week of May down in Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. And I think Ron's off, and so he just moved to Austin, so I think we're going to go through there. And they go playing golf all the time, and I ride on the cart and do nothing.
Drink beer or something?
So anything.
Yeah.
I just like being outside. It's really, really nice. Because where they play is really nice. They're all good golfers. So I've ridden around some of the most beautiful places ever. Every now and then, bring me. I'm caddying. I'm driving the car and I'm pulling up here. Bring me a 6-iron. Okay, here you go. And I could probably play, but I've convinced them all that I can't play at all.
Yeah.
And which is I don't want to play. So.
And people can find out those dates and whatnot on
VicHenley.com.
VicHenley.com.
My calendar's up there.
Fantastic, man. Well,
I'm going to Edmonton, Alberta for the comic strip out there.
Wonderful.
I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona. These are all in April at the House of Comedy in Phoenix, Arizona.
House of Comedy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate you being on the show, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah,
Talk
it's been-
more. You didn't speak enough.
I listen.
He's a color commentator, and he ran out of color a little while ago. But we still love him.
He's worn out from 2 a.m.
I enjoy these stories. I
Yeah.
just like to sit back and listen. That's just kind of what I do.
You're tired from 2 a.m. volleyball.
2 a.m.
You're
volleyball,
exhausted.
yeah.
You're
Yeah.
completely.
That was you guys apparently yesterday.
No, it was Patron and whiskey for us. It wasn't volleyball.
And me, I'm lucky I didn't hit somebody with a dart.
No, you're facing the wrong way, Vic.
Yeah,
Go face
exactly.
that way.
Yeah, the board's that way. It was that bad. It was like I don't really want to do this.
It was funny. All right. Well, Ish, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, for Vic Henley and Ish Lash, I'm Josh Sardam. You guys have a good night.